what, as hard as it is, a standard really needs the Lord to be the focal point. Because coming from a prodigal, if I'm your focal point, if your spouse or if your prodigal is your focal point, he's he's not going to listen unless the Lord is speaking,
Right.
unless the circumstances are perfect for him. By perfect, it's the simple things that Monica did in letting carry on this house like normal. Although it wasn't normal, when I came home and saw you here, we've talked about it earlier, it made a huge difference, huge impact. And so just allowing the Lord to work through you, those things convicted me. The simple things that maybe, again, you didn't even think about it. And I didn't realize it until now. But when you mention it, yeah, I didn't want to come home and see the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us on Before the Vows. My name is Robert. This is my lovely wife, Monica.
Hi.
Um, Today, we want to talk to you about, again, Monica's devotional that she did this week. And I think it's really perfect timing for it because we're getting a lot of responses, questions about um, almost like the absence of the spouse, the prodigal who's left. And, it's for the standing spouse, they're often almost always alone and they don't have their partner there with them to talk to confide in. And they may feel alone, and
Mm-hmm.
we've discussed that in previous videos. But if you want to read your scripture, it's in Isaiah 54 and 5, right?
Yes. It is, or your maker is your husband.
So that's just the part that you focused
Right.
on. I want to read a little bit of your devotional. That way, the standards can really kind of get where you were at. So this is what day or approximately how far along or into your stand was it?
It was, well, I have the date. It was May 4th, May 4th, May 5th, 2024.
Before.
So it was a couple months in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just we want to do a video. We're going to do it soon because I know there's been a lot of people asking about our story to
Mm-hmm.
get a better idea for context about where we're at. So a couple of years ago, probably about 3 years ago, I had gone to a friend's wedding, and we were supposed to go together. And I really wanted to go by myself in a way, but we had plans to go together, which I didn't mind, but I also didn't mind going by myself. We got into a little fight. My wife says, "Fine, just go without me." And at that state, I was like, "Okay, I will." I left. Of course, there's so much more
Yeah. I was gonna
backstory to all
say.
this,
Mm-hmm.
but um, that was really the start of me getting away. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why it's really important for couples to spend as much time together and do so many things
Mm-hmm.
together. Um, but that was really what planted the seed for me to start. I got a taste of what it was like. Just um, it was a 12-hour drive from where we're at, and it was just me and um, my most of my friends from high school, and um, it was the weekend by myself with just them. And so I was drinking, and that was the first time I had ever tried edible um, candies, and I came back, and like I said, I wanted to just do whatever. 3 4 months later, I keep wanting to say family reunion, high school reunion. Go over there again by myself, and I just experienced this time by myself without my wife, and it's like, okay, I don't mind this kind of lifestyle. So that's what started a lot of it. And I started interacting with um, a female from high school, and that's what again started everything. And um, that's what led to Monica's stance and me being a prodigal. So, Dave, you want to say
Well,
something?
yeah, I do want to say, because I kind of want to say how I was in that
Okay.
time.
Yes.
So in that time when um, he said he went out of town to the wedding to um, to the high school reunion. there was a lot of anger coming from me. I wasn't standing at that time. I didn't understand what was happening because we had been, like you said, there was things leading up to that time. So there was a lot of fighting going on, arguing. But in that time, I mean, aside from cussing, I didn't cuss, but I let him know how how horrible of a husband he was, how horrible of a man he was. And we do the silent treatment with each other. Um,
That
you
was
know,
a big thing with me. I would
yeah,
detach from myself from you and avoid you
yeah,
and
but
hold a grudge.
right. And then he'd come and say, I miss my best friend. And then he'd go back to, I remember when
Yeah.
he says, I don't want to fight anymore. I miss my best friend. And then he'd come and then, then he'd pull away again. And then it's silent treatment again because I was just angry. I was angry that I was like, I couldn't believe he left without me. I can't believe he did that.
Yeah.
So I was not standing at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this was when you were standing. You wrote this
Hmm.
devotional, and you started off with, a few months into my stand, I realized I was mourning the loss of my marriage, the marriage that I knew. I was now grieving the man that I had loved and lived most of my life with. Had decided he had decided he no longer wanted to be my husband. He was wanting to move on without me and never look back. In search of wanting to hear from someone who once stood for their marriage, I heard a standing wife say, "My maker is my husband." When I went and looked it up, it was everything I needed to hear. I held on to that. I held on to, I will not be put to shame. And I held on to, your maker is your husband. The rest of that word spoke of a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and it felt so real to me. I cried and cried, but when I saw it, he would have mercy on me. The Lord, my Redeemer, I was going to be redeemed, even when I couldn't see it. Now, I think this is something that can really resonate with a lot of standards because they feel they're
Hmm.
by themselves.
Hmm.
Um, Many of them don't have their spouse with them.
Right.
Some of them still have their spouse with them, but they're not present.
Right.
Um, some of them feel that push pull that we kind of talked about
Hmm.
with myself, and I have some information about avoidance and how they act and react, and some of the tendencies that we have
Hmm.
and why we do them. So we're going to give you a little bit of that in a little bit. So, but what was going through your mind when you were writing this? Like, what were you thinking? Obviously, you shared a little bit about that. You thought at that moment your marriage is over.
Yeah.
The one you loved and spend a lot of your life with at
Right.
that moment, more than half of your life with,
Yeah.
wanted out,
Right.
wanted nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
What was really going through your mind?
I mean, you're in shock. You're confused. Like you're everything you knew is you just don't have words for it, And I know I said in another video, it's like a death because
Yeah,
it's like a death, but you're still there. But you're there, but you're not there. Um, and especially because you weren't the person that I knew either.
yeah.
You were a different person. But yeah, there's so much confusion because you have no idea what's going on. Because I didn't, you were going out, but you kept telling me you weren't doing anything, and of course,
Right.
you don't believe that, but you're hoping that's not happening. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess confusion, sadness, what's going on? Am I really going to allow this to happen to me?
So you're talking to standers who have this question, and they want to know, you're you're alone.
Hmm.
What do you do when it comes to God? How was He your husband?
Well, because of the things in the devotionals previous, that I've spoken about previously, I was already building this relationship with the Lord because from the very beginning, I didn't.
What's the beginning, to be clear?
The very beginning was probably in um, April, I guess. April
And is that when you started
when I
your
started.
journal?
Uh huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
In April of 2024. And the Lord didn't want me to be distracted because sometimes people will distract themselves with um, somebody else. or friends, or
Because standards, they want answers.
they want
They want to know
answers.
what's going on.
Right. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, if he's doing it, I'm going to do it. Or, I'm just not going to sit here and wallow in it or whatever. But God did not want me to distract myself. I had to, also, my marriage, I realized my marriage was an idol. You were an idol. And God was teaching me that I had to make him my husband. I had to make him my first thing in the morning. I
Right.
had to make him my afternoon. I had to make him my nighttime. Like,
So he was part of your
he was part of my
everyday.
everyday, my everyday.
Because there's 24 hours in a day.
Hmm.
Every second of those 24
Right.
hours, you need something to occupy your mind.
Yes. Right. Because you can feel like, I mean, if I did not have the Lord, I think it's so hard. I mean, it's hard to do it with knowing the Lord is there with you. It's hard doing that.
Yeah.
So to not have the Lord, to try to do this without the Lord, I would not. It's unbearable. And so the Lord, first thing in the morning, I would wake up and tell him good morning, and I just made him so. I mean, he's so real, right? But I made him. I I just couldn't see him physically, but I mean, I remember dance. Like I heard, and I think it was the same lady who said she. I think it was the same lady said she danced with him, and I tried to do it like one time, and I just tried because that's why I would ask you to dance, and I was like, okay, I'll just try it. But yeah, he was. I was just making him so real to me. When I went to
So
bed, I would.
so what would you say to the standers who are saying, like, I feel like God hasn't heard my prayers. I feel like God has left me, like God has forsaken me.
I guess I all I one of the important things that I know that I learned in this time in this season is that he is there, but I had to hear him. I had to wait to hear him. I do believe that if you speak to him and you just wait for him to respond, you can hear him.
So how would you know, how did he respond?
He would respond in like the little, people say the little God winks, or there's little things that happen, right? Like I remember there was times I was just crying on the floor and just crying and crying and saying I can't do this anymore, and I felt like I was just done, and you would send me a text, like you would just send me a text that said, what are you doing?
Hmm.
And or somebody else would call me, or not um one of the boys, one of our kids would call, or just like there was something, but he was just strengthening me to get through it. I mean, there was just so many little things that were happening, but in order to know if the Lord is speaking to you, you have to start by being in his word.
Yeah.
His word is speaking to us.
So what would you say if you were in the Word,
Hmm.
but you said, I'm not gonna leave my life on pause.
Hmm.
I'm going to stand for my marriage, but I'm gonna have my life. I'm gonna go out, and you hang out with, friends that maybe don't have a similar viewpoint as far as your faith.
Hmm.
Maybe they're not totally sold out for God. They may claim to be religious,
Yeah.
whatever, but they don't have a good relationship with God where they would be encouraging, they would be more discouraging.
Hmm.
What would you say to a stander who has that mindset, like, I'm going to live my life? Like, you're still living your life. You're not putting your life on
Hmm.
hold, but I guess it's more for them, it's, I want to occupy my time
Right.
and hang out and
Right.
just do something innocent.
Right. Well, what would I say to them? I mean,
How not what would how would that have hindered or
oh,
prolonged the
oh yeah,
process?
it would have definitely prolonged it for us because I wouldn't have been obedient. The Lord was specifically telling me certain things, like he.
So I'm sorry. So you would say that had you gone out and just had an innocent little dinner with your friends, you weren't tuning into the
Right.
Lord, you were
Yes,
tuning into
that's a
your
good
friend.
way of saying it.
So
Yes.
you weren't
Yes,
being
honey.
really attentive to, so maybe
Right.
the Lord was trying to speak to you at a moment, and because you've admitted there's sometimes that you weren't obedient,
Hmm.
not that you sinned, or
Right.
but maybe you had sent me a text when you shouldn't have,
Right.
something
That's
very
exactly
innocent,
what the, yeah.
something very
Right.
simple, where a standard would say like, well, this is okay. I don't think this isn't
Hmm.
harmful
Right.
when it actually
Hmm.
could be.
It could be. Yeah, because um yeah, I mean, I had to be so attentive to the Lord every day, all day. It was about the Lord. I mean, there was no again, said it before, my kids, the kids, our daughter-in-laws, like that's my life. And um the Lord pulled me from that. To this day, the Lord still hasn't, released me really to distract myself because we're still in a process.
Right.
So I still have to be so attentive to the Lord. But yeah, during that time, it was just consuming myself with
Yeah.
making the Lord my husband. He was my provider, right? Because I was worried about finances because the money that was being pulled out.
Hmm.
So what am I supposed to do about that? Like, there's nothing I can do but what, confront you and argue with you about it,
Oh yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And so God would tell me not to confront you. He would say, I'm your provider. He would say, I'm your restorer.
And because of my attachment style, because I'm an avoidant,
Hmm.
those things, even though it would have been completely, you had every right to ask me those questions.
Right.
It's fair.
Yeah.
To me, it's an attack.
Hmm.
To me, I
Yes.
feel like you're calling me out on something and I don't like it,
Right.
especially in the space that I'm in.
Right.
I still can take some of your simple questions, and you're very careful. I don't want to say you walk on eggshells, but you preface the question with like, you just did it earlier. I just want you to know
Yeah.
I'm not. And I was like, just tell me, just tell me. I was prepared for
Hmm.
it, but you're making sure you were just. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
I'm not accusing
Right.
you.
Well, there's something to that, honey. Like
Hmm.
the Lord in the stand, the Lord has taught me, because my mouth, and we spoke with somebody the other day who said my words can cut, my words can hurt. I can come off accusing, like I just from the way I talk, I can accuse you very easy and
And then
wording it.
you can go back and say I wasn't doing that.
Yeah, but but the way I word it,
Right.
because I tend to be a little bit more direct, and sometimes thank the Lord for Chat GPT because it can soften my words a little bit. Sometimes I have to use that, but but
So you use Chat GPT before you talk to me? I'm just
yeah,
kidding. I'm just kidding.
no, but so with that, that's I so when I say something to you and I'm like, okay, I need you to hear me because I just want to make the Lord is teaching me how to speak
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of where that comes from.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You also said from that point on, this is back to your devotional. From that point on, I began to pray, Lord, you be my husband. You fill every void in me. You are my provider. You are my counselor. You are my restorer. You are my everything. I was learning to treat God as my husband. I would talk to him first thing in the morning, during the day. I would process everything I was feeling and going through with him. In the evening, before bed, I would tell him how much I loved him.
Hmm.
So it's how does that what does that look like? Because many standards are they have that same question.
Hmm.
Again, we talked about it. They're by themselves. They don't have their husbands, or even when they do have
Hmm.
their husbands are there, giving them mixed signals.
Yeah.
That it's confusing.
Right.
That you don't know what to say. So the husband, it might be worse because your husband's in the house.
Hmm.
So your natural instinct is to my husband's here, so he is now my husband.
Right.
So how did you when I was here, how
Hmm.
did you say I need to keep the Lord as my husband? I need God to be my husband
Well,
and not my husband.
I mean, okay, so you were here, right? You'd come
Mhm.
in and leave. What would you see? What would you see? Because it'd be like you would see me constantly in my word. You would hear me if you did come. You would hear me praying or
Mhm.
speaking to the Lord. It's if you came home and I was gone, and you came home again and I was gone, and you came home again and saw I was gone. I mean, what would you be thinking, right? Or
You're out doing your thing.
right,
You didn't care. It
hmm,
would be like, okay, we're both on the same
right,
page.
right.
We're gonna start drifting further and further apart.
Right.
Hmm.
So you saw me constantly, like the Lord was my everything.
Let me say this.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up because coming home to a regular home convicted me. I started seeing I'm the missing piece.
Mm-hmm.
If you were gone and I came home, I would have been like, nobody to talk to. I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about it. My home's not the home
Right.
anymore. let me get my things, let me wash up,
Right.
take off.
I think that's really a really good point that you brought up, because the Lord allowed me to continue to run this home, to continue to have the kids come over, to
Hmm.
continue to have dinner and lunch, and the kids and us played games, and that's what we were doing, and you were coming home to that, and you couldn't look at us,
I
you
couldn't.
couldn't, you had to leave, you had to walk away. So that's the peace that God was doing, filling this home with. Yeah, so that's wow.
Yeah, and there were some times when the kids weren't here,
Hmm.
um, or maybe you were in the room by yourself, and I didn't have to go in the room, or that made it easier.
Hmm.
So the less contact I had with you all,
Hmm.
the easier. So many standards, you might be wondering why a spouse doesn't want to come home or doesn't want to have contact. It's because he's trying to distance himself from that. It's not that he doesn't. It's not that I don't. I mean, I would give my life for my kids, but I didn't want to
Hmm.
see them.
Right.
I didn't at the time. I didn't want. I felt bad. I felt horrible
Yeah.
what I was doing, and so I wanted to distance myself from reality. We've
Yeah.
talked about it.
Right.
I didn't want anything to do with um, anything that connected me to reality
Hmm.
because I would have felt bad. I
Right.
didn't want to feel bad. I just wanted to do my thing, and that's it.
Hmm.
Alcohol helped me get away from all that.
Right.
Doing starting to smoke marijuana, that helped me distance myself. It put me in la la land, and I was disconnecting myself. I was disassociating myself with reality,
Right.
and so that was a huge part
Hmm.
in the process of winning me back over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you said I didn't always get it right.
Yeah.
There were very few times that you slipped up for me. um, when he knew I was focusing on things that were hurting me, he would gently tell me, "Fix your eyes on me."
Hmm.
I now have such a love for my Maker that I have never had before. That's what he wants for me, and that's what he wants from all of us. I will never be put to shame for following him. Can you speak on like when you heard the Lord say, "Fix your eyes on me"?
Oh gosh, I mean, that was so, like everything else, like that was just so much of what he was saying to me, because I would look at what you were doing, um the hurts that I would have, um and I would be like, I mean, I was crying out to the Lord, just being like, Lord, this is so painful. How could he do this? And how could he do that? And I was looking at you. I was looking at you. And the Lord would tell me, fix your eyes. It would always tell me, fix your eyes back on me.
Yeah.
And it, it became easy. Well, not easier. It would come faster. Like, so I'd start thinking about something you're doing, and then I would hear, fix your eyes on me.
Mhm.
Or I would hear, because sometimes you're like, Lord, this is embarrassing. This is like, he doesn't care who saw, he doesn't care who knows. And the Lord would tell me, you will not be put to shame. And that continues. Like, you have to know what the Lord says. You
Yeah.
have to know. And that's being in his word, that's being in prayer with him, and having a conversation with him, because those words had to I had to have them so a part of me,
Yeah.
because um that's the only way I could get through it,
Yeah.
because if not, then I was gonna, again, we've said it, I was you only have you're either gonna fall away, I'm gonna go and start being sinful, or well, you just can't handle it. I don't think anybody can handle it, apart from the Lord.
Yeah. So again, for those that are standing for their marriage, and many of them have been standing for years.
Hmm.
Each story is different. Some have already filed for divorce. Some
Yeah.
have gone through with divorce. Some have married
Yeah.
the other woman. Um, some still have their husband in the home. Everyone is at a different point, but they're all still standing.
Right.
So how does that speak to each one of them, as far as like what would you say to them when it comes to just, I guess you would tell them, just fill your free time with the Lord.
Yeah. Well, and it's not make some, like, it's not if you have free time. It's like the Lord has to your time has to be with him.
You could say that this was much about you, as
Hmm.
much about
Hmm.
you as it was for me.
Oh, absolutely. But my part was bringing you back to the
Right.
Lord. And
So
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. So you really had to take your eyes off of, and that mentality that you started off with, which is completely understandable.
Hmm.
Lord, he's living his best life.
Right.
Why? Why am I going through
Hmm.
this and he's out enjoying his life
Hmm.
when it was actually a breaking process? Once you
Right.
realize God told you,
Hmm.
be quiet,
Yeah.
go ahead, I'm gonna let you have it
Right.
out. But once you're quiet,
Hmm.
I'm gonna start working on you.
Yeah.
And then once you're done,
Hmm.
I'm gonna work on him through you.
Right. And I do want to say that, like right now, as you're talking, like the very first thing that the Lord, one of the very first things that the Lord dealt with me was self righteousness. And I think I've said it before, but that is anytime you try to put your spouse before the Lord and you say, Lord, fix him, do this, do that. The Lord says, I'm dealing with them, but you listen to me. Like you listen to what I'm saying because I had to change. I had to change. And in growing in this relationship with the Lord, he was changing me to my conduct, like scripture says, my conduct was winning you over.
Mhm.
The Lord was changing my conduct towards you,
Yeah.
you know?
And we've heard a few testimonies of standers who realized once they stopped focusing on their husband
Hmm.
and allowed their relationship with the Lord
Hmm.
to be the focus of their life, they started seeing change.
Right.
They, instead of asking questions where the spouse was, um, why they're doing this, just any type of question,
Hmm.
because questions feel like attacks.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
matter how you word it.
Hmm.
At that moment, in those times, questions, most times than not, they feel like you're
Hmm.
attacking us.
Yeah.
And so that you're obviously you're proof that allowing the Lord to work on you
Hmm.
and taking your eyes off of me
Hmm.
works.
Yeah.
And we've also seen it in other
And
women.
other women, yeah.
Um,
And the husbands are home. Husbands have come back home. They're still in the beginning stages of restoration,
mhm.
but husbands are back home, and you have to continue to the the Lord taught you how to be. He taught you what to do. You've got to carry that on. It's not just bring your husband home and then go back to same old you.
Right, because had I come back home, which I never really left, but
Mm-hmm.
if I had decided, once I decided I'm not doing that anymore, I'm going to start. Now, I was still doing things in the home. I
Right.
was still
Mm-hmm.
drinking, and it took me a while to cut all that up. But and that was a potential gateway for me to go
Right.
back.
Right.
So you could have easily triggered
Mm-hmm.
me and said, I could have been like, you know what, forget all this,
Mm-hmm.
and then started the whole process all over
Mm-hmm.
again. So even though I was home, and even though I decided, you know what, I'm cutting ties with everything else, but I'm still going to drink and do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If had you done something to trigger that, I probably would have been like, okay, see you later.
Right.
It
Yeah.
started the whole process all over again.
Right. But because the Lord had taught me not to question before, that even when you were home doing it,
Mhm.
I couldn't question because the Lord was still he was still speaking to me.
You continued in the process of
Right.
standing. You
Right.
continued
Mhm.
and just, and you're still in that same, you still have your relationship with the Lord.
Mhm.
Nothing like that. Because of all this, you have now developed a relationship with the Lord. And we've mentioned it before. Um, you've developed a relationship like you've never had before.
Right. Mhm.
And so God has allowed this process to heal you continually.
Mhm.
And it's, we've said it before, it's going to be a continual process. It's, the Lord's going to be healing, maybe revealing, but the the restoration, everything is just going to continue on.
Yeah. Well, and I know too, like to be crying out and making the Lord my husband in this season of my life, now I tell him, Lord, I don't ever want to lose what I have with you. I don't ever want to lose it. I do say, help me balance
Mhm.
now, like
Right.
help me balance my husband here and my relationship with you. But I never want to forget where he's pulled me from. I never want to forget my relationship with him.
So now that I'm back in the house,
Hmm.
is the Lord still your husband?
Oh, he's still my husband
Okay.
because I have to honor him first
Right.
before I honor you. And honoring him is going to honor you.
Correct.
Honoring him is going to honor my children.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So, some of the things that we looked into and pulled out from this, because we were getting a few responses to, why is my husband acting like this? He's doing this,
Hmm.
he's doing that. And it's the same trends,
Yeah.
different scenarios,
Hmm.
same trends.
Right.
And most men are avoidance. There are some women that are avoidance, but most men are avoidance, and avoidance and anxious people attract.
Hmm.
And so, what the avoidant sees in certain scenarios, so we took some notes and said, so the reactions to being questioned, we talked about this: disappearing, leaving suddenly, the substance abuse. Um, that's, whether it's drugs, it's tied to escaping reality, like we talked about. It's a numbness,
Hmm.
and they're very impulsive when they do this. The numbness is, again, just detaching
Right.
yourself from the person,
Hmm.
from everything that person represents. It's not a hatred for them, although they may feel
Hmm.
hated. It's not a hatred for them. It's really hard to understand it, but it's the body's central nervous system.
Hmm.
It's the fight or flight mode that we've talked about, and that man is feeling the love, but his body is telling him danger
Hmm.
because of childhood trauma,
Hmm.
something that has happened to him in the past.
Right.
Usually, when they're young and growing up, their caregiver, the ones that showed them love, also showed them, whether there was verbal abuse, physical
Hmm.
abuse. Many times there's sexual abuse, things like that.
Hmm.
So those are the things that the body has developed defense mechanisms
Right.
for, and it carries on into adulthood. And many times people don't. I didn't realize this
Right.
until
Right.
you told me about it.
Right. And then and and we're hearing it from
Hmm.
some of the wives that this is what husbands are dealing with,
Yeah,
that it's what they're dealing with,
yeah.
and it just yeah.
So it mentions serial relationships with other women. These often trace back to early attachment wounds, such as abandonment or inconsistent caregiving. Also, emotional neglect, childhood instability or exposure to addictions. Maybe one of the parents was addicted.
Hmm.
Maybe there was alcohol involved, or even there's a number of things that can do this. So this can create an avoidant or disorganized, which I am a disorganized
Hmm.
avoidant, which is a double whammy.
Hmm.
Um, it's an intense fear of accountability, which I hated. Shame, intolerance, questions feel like attacks.
Hmm.
Again, we mentioned this. Self soothing through substance abuse. Mine was alcohol or chewing tobacco. Sometimes it was, you can seek another partner, um, instead of connection. So when you ask, where were you? What were you doing? The nervous system hears, you're bad, you're trapped, you're about to
Hmm.
be exposed. And so there goes the fight or flight mode. Rage, escape, drugs, another woman, repeat. It's
Yeah.
rinse, repeat.
Right.
It's a cycle. It's
Right.
gonna go over.
Hmm.
This is just how he's been programmed,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Hmm.
Can they heal from this? Absolutely. The Lord can do this, but um, it's a constant renewing of the mind. So this isn't about her questions or your questions for you standards. It's about an unresolved trauma from his childhood.
Hmm.
Addiction is driving his nervous system.
Right.
Whether, again, it's through the P word,
Hmm.
we call it pornography, but whether it's through the P word
Hmm.
or through finding, some kind of addiction,
Yeah.
through alcohol, maybe
Right.
cigarettes,
Right.
another woman, just something. Um, that's what's going to soothe them. That's what's going to help them escape reality.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some of the men leave because they want to detach themselves,
Hmm.
because maybe their thing isn't drugs, but they're stepping outside of their marriage, and so they just want to escape reality,
Hmm.
because it's because he loves you, he's fearful of what his mind, he doesn't know it, but his mind is
Yeah.
fearful of that.
Yeah. Well, and he doesn't know it. So it's more than likely he's going to make it seem like it's you because he doesn't know that. Just like where we were at, right? It was
Yeah.
always you kind of just always thought it was me, and we've said that before. Um yeah.
Yeah, and
So
so for the stander,
mhm.
you're anxious, you're on this constant roller
Yeah.
coaster. And so it's called trauma bonding, right? And so because the avoidance and the anxious attract, it's trauma bonding because certain chemicals being released, it's just it's weird. But the long-term loyalty, despite repeated betrayal, um, it's amazing once we have really found out about this stuff and started looking into it, and how much we want to bring awareness
Mhm.
because of it, because we know this is, and obviously we want to root, all this is rooted in faith. The Bible has mentioned all this, not specifically
Mhm.
by name, but Jesus said he come to heal the brokenhearted. Romans says, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's a mental thing about
Yeah.
renewing yourself daily in scripture. And
Mhm.
this is part of what you're talking about, is having that relationship with the Lord, because if not, your mind won't be
Yeah.
renewed that day, and you can easily be conformed to the world
Mhm.
and how the world thinks.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and as the stander, I I had to allow that to be done in me too, because like I said before, the Lord, I'm praying for my marriage, I'm praying for you, and the Lord's like, work on your relationship with so and so.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, stop looking at who they used to be and start looking at who they're trying to be. Like that's exactly what he said to
So
me.
you can almost say that he was trying to help you focus while you're going through your daily life, while you're going through your trauma.
Hmm.
I want to use you.
Uh-huh.
He's healing you through other.
Yeah, he's healing my childhood, things I held on to, things that I have not moved past, because he needs to clear me out, clean me out of my, the things I held on to, because I'm only focusing on, Lord, fix me here, fix this here, but he's
Mhm.
like, no, I got to fix all of you,
Yeah.
all of you. Because how am I going to be, like grateful when you come home and treat you great, but then I still have this relationship over here that
Yeah.
I just try to put, out of sight, out of mind
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up right there. I think this is really important for the standards to recognize um, how important it is for them to take their eyes off the circumstance, as hard as it is, and focus on letting the Lord work on you so that He can work through you.
And taking your eyes off the circumstance doesn't mean that, because there are people who say, I'm just putting it in God's hands, and I'm gonna live my life, and you know that's not what it means. It means you turn to the Lord. Don't distract yourself with anything else and nothing else. Like you turn to God and you just let Him lead you and direct you and where He wants you to go, what He wants you to do. Um, and that's taking your eyes off of the circumstance and fixing them on the Lord.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and again, in all that, it's taking your eyes off of not just your husband, but also allowing the Lord to work through you, keeping the Lord your focal point,
Hmm.
and as again, just letting the Lord use you, going through your daily routine, but fixing your routine in including the Lord in everything that you're doing. That way, you can be that instrument that
Yeah.
God uses. And I've made this example before, but um, someone who writes books, of course, we do it on computers now, laptops. But if you're in the old days and you're wanting to write a book, and you have a pen or a pencil and you're writing everything out, that pen is important because that is going to transfer that idea
Hmm.
from the one writing it onto that piece of paper so that others can see it and read it. But if that pen was you,
Hmm.
or you standers,
Hmm.
if that pen is moving around or that pen runs out of ink, the pen is no good.
Right.
You need a new pen, or you need to fill that pen up again with ink. And so if that pen is constantly jumping around in the writer's hands, it's really not very helpful. It's making it hard. So the writer is going to wait until that pen or that pencil stops moving so that he can continue writing and get the message across. And so I think that's what, as hard as it is, a standard really needs the Lord to be the focal point. Because coming from a prodigal, if I'm your focal point, if your spouse, or if your prodigal is your focal point, he's he's not going to listen unless the Lord is speaking,
Right.
unless the circumstances are perfect for him. By perfect, it's the simple things that Monica did in letting carry on this house like normal. Although it wasn't normal, when I came home and saw you here, we've talked about it earlier, it made a huge difference, a huge impact. And so just allowing the Lord to work through you, those things convicted me. The simple things that maybe, again, you didn't even think about it. And I didn't realize it until now. But when you mention it, yeah, I didn't want to come home and see the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why some prodigals leave the house, because they don't want to see the hurt
Mm-hmm.
that they're causing. They're running from it. And so if you just allow the Lord to work on you, work on the patience, the fruits of the spirits are so important, but um, it 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 works. It really does.
Yeah.
So we thank you for watching this video. Um, Again, we're going to put our email account on the bottom of the screen. Feel free to reach out to us. Um, if you have any questions and want to meet with us one on one, we'll schedule you sometime. Also, Dr. E, we'll put her link in there as well, so you can go to her. This is what she does. She does coaching for
Mm-hmm.
women who are standing, and it's 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 amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We really appreciate the support that we're getting from you all. We appreciate the subscribers, but we just want to be real and authentic with you. We're going to share, we're going to put out a video where we tell our story so that everybody kind of understands where
Yeah.
how everything came to be. But we want to help you all with this walk, with this journey. We're not a perfect couple. We just want to be an example of what following the Lord's plan can do. And if we can pass on any guidance or wisdom, or what my wife has learned in this process, or what a prodigal thinks when they're in this, feel free to reach out. That's why we're putting out these videos, so that you all can get some comfort in knowing where you're at, knowing that this is not in vain.
Right.
As long as your stand has been, this is
Right.
not going unnoticed by God. He is recognizing your pain. He's with you. He's walking with you. And as a community that we're building here, we need to lift up each other in prayer. Um, so that's what we're here for. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Bye
Bye.
bye.